Right now, there's more noise around the economy and housing than we've seen in years. And the most dangerous part isn't inflation or rates or even uncertainty.
Man, you gotta jump on it now before it takes off. No, listen, it's way too volatile.
You should pull out. Honey, just say more. Stop risking so much.
The market always rebounds. Just hold.
It's that fear is being pushed as fact. Every scroll, every headline, every hot take is telling you some version of you're late, you've missed it, or it's about to crash. That's where people lose years of opportunity.
Yeah, and this isn't happening just to a few people. In 2026, Americans are getting more of their financial advice from social media, friends, and family alone, instead of licensed professionals. And that's not just risky, it's creating a financial cliff. Here's how serious this actually is. About 20 to 30% of adults use social media for financial advice. But Gen Z, that number explodes to a whopping 76%, and nearly 64% of young adults say they've made a regrettable financial decision because of misleading online information.
Mortgage rates have dropped into the 2% range. But don't be fooled. A housing collapse is coming. Home prices will fall hard. Now is not the time to buy.
We were wrong then, and we're gonna be wrong now. Listening to us will turn you into a forever renter. Cut the camera.
If you don't have checks and balances on this information you're consuming, especially when buying a home, you're walking into a disaster completely blindfolded.
And Anthony, here's the irony. Friends and family aren't trying to give bad advice. They're sharing what they think is right based on fear and headlines or past experiences. So today's episode is about clarity. We're breaking down what is happening with the economy and housing and what isn't happening for sure. Not based on hype, not based on headlines, and definitely not based on fear.
Yeah, because there's a massive and very fake elephant in the room right now. You're hearing people say, rates are dropping, now is the right time to buy. And yes, it can be the right time to buy, but not for the reasons most people are giving. Rates haven't meaningfully dropped yet, but what's actually happening is the groundwork is being laid out right in front of our eyes.
This feels like a deep impact moment. The comment, aka rates, are already in motion. Most people don't see it. Some people even deny it. The people who win aren't the ones who panic when it's visible.
So here's what we're breaking down in today's episode. Why timing the market almost always fails, what preparation actually looks like in real life, and more importantly, why waiting for the perfect rate always backfires.
But let's start with the biggest mistake people are making, which is trying to time the market. Markets like this don't reward people who wait. They reward people who decide. And in order to decide, you need clarity. Clarity on why it matters to buy now, and clarity on what buying now actually means for your numbers. Because the deciding factor is understanding your max purchase power and what that creates as your monthly payment and what it means for your cash to close.
And this is where buyers get it wrong. When people decide what they can afford, they look at their current situation, their rent, their lifestyle, and their spending. That's the wrong framework. You can't look at what you're renting and say, this is my mortgage budget. It just doesn't work.
We talked about affordability last week and why now more than ever, buyers need to be flexible with their budget. Trading Starbucks for savings, that feels bland, but it creates massive financial shifts when it's time to decide. When you audit wasteful spending and reallocate it towards ownership, you can often increase your allowable mortgage payment by 20 to 25%.
Yeah, and that's the key point here, Manley. No rate drop over the next 12 months is going to let you keep the same spending habits and magically afford a more house payment. The biggest move is not timing, it's planning. It's a big key difference here.
In this market, it doesn't move gently. It moves like a deep impact moment. That object is already in motion. People don't see it, but the ones who win are the ones who are prepared before the impact, aka the rates, change.
Yeah, and here's the part that really matters. The market does not move when you feel comfortable. It moves when policy shifts, before comfort shows up.
Hey, people have questions like, should I buy now or later? What actually is more economical? Will waiting give me a lower payment or just a higher price? If I buy now, I will be house poor or living on top ramen. Will I drain my savings and live paycheck to paycheck? These are all real questions that happen every day, but they tell a deeper story.
Yeah, and history, it backs this up. In the early 1980s, rates were high, but buyers invested in their future. In the early 1990s, fear kept people out and quiet buyers cleaned up. And post-2008, the people who waited for headlines, they missed the recovery. Now in 2026, most people invest in their lifestyle and not their future. And then they wonder, why is their future feeling empty? Wonder why.
And to be fair, today is harder than 1980. Back then, home prices were only about 3.5 times your income. In 2026, they're about 5 to 5.8 times your income. Rents now consume about 42% of your income, leaving people stuck paying someone else's mortgage with no equity and no exit ramp.
Yeah, and here's the part nobody wants to hear. After the day ends, the average American has about 5 hours of discretionary time. That's it. In 2026, people spend 3.5 to 4 hours doom scrolling. That's 70 to 80% of their free time, leaving about 1 hour a day to actually change their life. 1 hour a day is 365 hours in a year, or enough time wasted to stay exactly where they are. No movement.
So here's the real question. How many people are actually taking home ownership seriously? The data says not many.
Yeah, the people who win, they understood the trajectory. They positioned early. And when the moment arrived, they weren't scrambling. They were ready.
So if you've been waiting for the markets to make the decision for you, this is your wake-up call. The market doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards readiness. The next question becomes, what does preparation actually look like? And where do most people get it wrong? That's what we're breaking down next.
The sun's rising behind you. It's coming up fast.
Hey, shields down.
Oh, Christ. Get the hell out of there!
So if timing the market is the trap, the next big question becomes, what does preparation actually look like? And where do most people get it wrong before the impact ever hits? Because here's the truth. Most buyers don't fail because they can't afford a home. They fail because they're preparing in the wrong order.
And this is one of the biggest problems we are currently seeing right now. People start with the house and not the numbers. They open up Zillow, scroll listings, fall in love with the kitchens and backyards. And statistically, that's not random. About 67% of buyers right now use Zillow or similar apps as their first step. Only 5% of buyers say getting pre-approved was their first thing they ever did. And 86% of app users installed Zillow before talking to a lender or agent. That's crazy.
Exactly. The home buying process isn't something you understand in theory. It's something you understand in sequence. You don't start by picking a house. You start by knowing your numbers. Income, debt, credit, cash. Then the price and payment make sense. When people skip these steps, they get confused, stressed, or even blindsided. You get a panic preparation instead of an educated preparation.
Yeah, and this confusion, it's getting worse, especially in 2026, because about 70 to 75% of Americans, they believe it's currently a bad time to buy. Not because they ran the numbers, but because of the headlines, rates, prices, fear-driven commentary. Meanwhile, most people are getting financial guidance from places that benefit from attraction, not accuracy and not numbers.
The data here, it's alarming. About 43% of Americans rely on friends and family for financial guidance. Another 23 to 30% rely on social media. And for Gen Z, that number jumps as high as 76%. And here's the danger. Roughly 64% of younger adults report making regrettable financial decisions based on misleading information online. That's not preparation, that's noise. And this is the key takeaway here. When you understand the order, the numbers, and the signals, you stop reacting to the headlines and you start moving with intention.
Weapons armed.
All right, now let's bring this out of theory mode and into real life on what buying actually looks like in 2026. Because knowing the market, knowing the signals, knowing the risk means nothing if you don't know where to move first.
Agreed. And here's what buying a home actually looks like. Not Instagram version and not HDTV version. The very first step is you complete a mortgage application before you talk to a realtor and before you tour homes, and yes, before you start Zillow scrolling. Because you can't sit down at a 5-star restaurant with a $20 bill in your pocket, order a $500 meal, and then ask the waiter, so what can I get for 20 bucks? It just doesn't work that way. Before you doom scroll, you need to know your numbers. And that starts with the mortgage application.
And this isn't a 6-week paper chase like it used to be. With modern lending, like our process at Rate, most buyers complete a 10-minute online application. In that short window, income, employment, credit, and assets are all fully verified. That creates confidence and removes fear.
It's not one-dimensional, Manley. We're not just asking how much house do you want. We're asking how do you spend your money today? Where is the cash leaking? What debt helps you and what debt hurts you? How do we create calculated success, not accidental stress? We're not just trying to throw it on the wall to see if it sticks here.
And this ties directly back to the rate conversation. Because in 2026, buyers who will act while rates sit near 6% often win long term over those waiting for the 5s.
Yeah, and the cost of competition, when rates drop, buyers flood back in and the choice disappears. Negotiation power vanishes and the price, it firms up. Yes, the payment looks better, but the deal, it's much worse.
One of the most underrated advantages right now is choice. In early 2026, buyers have options, time to compare, room to negotiate. This is the calm before the impact.
But when rates fall into the 5s, that luxury disappears. You're no longer choosing the best homes. You're choosing whatever's left.
And here's where the data gets serious. Mortgage rates hovering around 6.06% already triggered a 28.5% surge in mortgage applications in early January 2026. That's the last 3 weeks. That's not the flood. That's the water pulling back.
So let's frame this up. Here's the timeline. Dropping from 7% to 6% unlocks roughly 5.5 million households who can now afford a medium-priced home. If rates dipped, say, to 5.5%, which some analysts project by mid to end 2026, demand could jump 15 to 20% almost overnight. That's not gradual, that is a wave.
And here's why waiting is so dangerous. At 6% rates, home prices are forecasted to rise about 4% this year. If those rates do hit 5.5%, that surge in demand could push the price growth to 6 to 7%. That's big. So yes, your rate is lower, but the price is higher. The competition is brutal, and the concessions, they disappeared completely.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Right now, in early 2026, about 34% of homes, they've seen price cuts. The seller credits, the temporary buy downs, the flexible terms, those vanish when the wave hits. Strategic bottom line here, buying before the flood creates leverage. This is the bottom line that we must show so that way the consumer, you, the buyers out there, you guys are ready.
All right, folks, now it's time for the ever-popular Rate Tracker segment, and this one matters. Right now, we're not talking about panic, we're talking about signals.
Okay, here's where we're sitting right now. 30-year fixed rate is sitting just over 6 at 6.07%. The 10-year Treasury, we're sitting at 4.25%, a far cry from under 4 we saw maybe a couple months ago. And that's important because the 10-year actually moved up from last week as well, which tells us something. This isn't a straight line drop. This is pressure, release, and recalibration.
Exactly. Think of this like deep impact. The comet doesn't hit it all at once. First you see gravitational pull, then surface disruption, then course correction. That's what the bond market is doing. Now let's talk where this goes. Coming in 2026, our base case was gradually moved lower. And here's where we differ, in a healthy way.
Yeah, I'm still calling it as I did in the beginning. By the end of 2026, I think we see an average 30-year fixed between 4.7 and 5.25. That's right, I set a 4 handle by the end of the year. Why? Because geopolitical pressure, Fed leadership repricing, and potential GSE restructuring. I'm not saying it's going to be quantitative easing, but maybe expanding the balance sheet. This is going to be the front-running reason why we see rates dip and dip fast this year.
And I'm still a little more conservative. I'm in the 5.25 to 5.5 range. Not because I don't think rates will fall. I do. So I think this is cautiously optimistic. All right, let's keep moving. Next up, we're breaking down the buzzwords that confuse buyers the most and translating them into real-world meaning. All right, we need to do something that matters. Translate the language to words you hear when you're buying a home. Because when you're buying a home, it's not the market that hurts people. It's the words they don't fully understand until it's too late. Ryan, you're up.
All right, picture this. I'm not the news anchor. I'm not the politician. I'm the rig worker standing on the comet. Clock's ticking, pressure's rising, and we don't have time for confusion. So here's the deal. Keep it simple, keep it real, or we all get wiped out. First up, pre-approval. Everyone says it, few people actually understand it. Manley?
Hey, a real pre-approval means your income and your credit and your assets have all been verified. Not guessed, not self-reported, verified.
All right, next one, debt to income. Sounds boring, but this is the pressure gauge. Anthony?
Yeah, DTI simply stands for debt to income ratio of how much your monthly income is already spoken for. Car loans, student loans, credit cards. The higher it is, the less room you have to maneuver.
This one causes panic. Cash to close. Manley, talk to us.
Ooh, yeah. Cash to close is everything due at signing. Your down payment, your closing costs, your prepaid. But here's the miss. It's not always what people think. With seller credits and concessions in a strategy, that number is often lower than buyers fear.
Next up, rate buy down. Anthony, break it down.
A buy down is when money is used to temporarily lower your interest rate. We're not talking about an arm, it's fixed, but the first part of it is lower. In 2026, temporary buy downs are often smarter than the permanent ones.
Last one for today, and this one matters right now. Seller concessions. Manley, tell us about it.
Seller concessions are when the seller helps pay your costs, closing costs, buy downs, repairs. And here's the reality. In a market like early 2026, buyers who are prepared can save 8 to 15% on total acquisition costs.
All right, that's the list. No jargon, no fluff. Just the tools you need before the clock runs out. Because when you understand the language, you stop reacting and you can start acting.
We honor them with every brick we lay, with every field we sow, with every child we comfort, and then teach to rejoice in what we have been re-given. Our planet, our home. So now, let us begin.
All right, that's a wrap, folks. If you got value out of this, please like, follow, and subscribe. And drop us a comment. What's the biggest myth you believed about home buying? We'll read them all.
Hey, Manley, you want to hear an interesting fact?
I'm not sure I do, Anthony. Really not quite sure I do.
I think you do. So the Green Bay Packers had 30 straight years, over 3 decades of Hall of Fame quarterback play with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, and turned it into only 2 Super Bowl rings. Only 2. Now, compare that to the New England Patriots, who had 1 elite quarterback and won 6 Super Bowls in roughly the same span. Or let's take the San Francisco 49ers, who won 5 rings with multiple quarterbacks, different coaches, and still showed up for the big moment. 2 generational quarterbacks, 7 MVPs, and 3 decades with only 2 rings. So that's not a dynasty. That's elite talent wasted. So question for you. In your opinion, why do the Packers suck so much? Is my mic working? what was?
And folks, I have no idea why my partner in crime here chooses to just be this guy to try to poke the bear. He doesn't even have a football team. He lives in a friggin' island where they wear hula skirts for fun, and he wants to pick on me. Great having you all here today. See you soon.
Girl from the heart of Wisconsin to the waves of Hawaii, Manley and Anthony keep it real, not salesy. Breaking down rates and the truth you need to know.